What should you do if your child tells you he or she is religious? Well, as an atheist, and admittedly I don't have kids, but I feel like I'd still say this, if you're an atheist, you probably take it very seriously, and you would hope your kids kind of follow along in those footsteps, and they're also rational, critical thinkers as well. But if your kid comes home, and a child, at that age, a young age, and they say, Dad, I believe in God, or I believe in the afterlife, I hope that the first response for any atheist parents watching is not to just freak out about it. It's not to say, no, you're wrong. Because that's what people who indoctrinate their kids do. They make sure they think exactly the way their parents think, and there's no room for error there. And frankly, I think we're better than that. I think we ought to be better than that. So if a kid says they believe in the afterlife, first of all, don't worry, because they're kids. They'll probably change their minds next week. But I think the best way to handle that would be to just question them. Why do you believe that? Do you have a good reason to believe that? And whatever reason they give you, okay, interesting. Yeah, by all means, throw them some tough questions, play devil's advocate if you want. But I hope you do the same thing if your really young child comes home and says, Dad, I don't believe in God. Well, again, that's not something they should be indoctrinated into, and they shouldn't believe it because a friend told it to them and now they believe it. They should have a good reason for that. So even if your kid comes up to you and says, I don't believe in God, question them about that too. Make them have a good reason to hold whatever belief it is that they have. And by the way, getting back to the question of what do you do if your kid is religious, and I actually think it matters what kind of religion they're going into. There's a difference between coming home and saying, I believe infidels are all going to hell, and anyone who doesn't believe exactly the way I do is totally wrong, and someone who says, I think I believe what the Bible says, and I think that compels me to be a better person, and it makes me want to help other people and do what's good in society, because that's the way Jesus would have wanted me to live. My friend Dale McGowan, who's written a couple amazing books on the subject, he actually puts this on a spectrum. He's like, there's a difference between your kid coming home and saying they're like Fred Phelps, who says God hates fags and protests funerals because of homosexuality, versus someone like Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, who's like the nicest guy and you wish he was your neighbor, There's a big difference between what type of religion they come home and say that they now belong to. And what if your child is older? Then, you know what? It's not your business to say you shouldn't believe that or you can't believe that. At some point in your life, your kid's gonna do something that makes you upset. And at some point, you gotta let it go. At some point, you've taught them all you can. You've hopefully raised them in a way that is respectable. And now they got to make their own decisions. And if it's not religion, it's going to be something else. Maybe they are dating someone you don't want them to date. Maybe they espouse political views you don't want them to hold. And all that stuff's going to make you upset, maybe. But at some point, you got to say, well, that's your journey. You figure it out, and hopefully you could still have a good conversation about that. But above all, I know that so many young atheists are afraid of telling their parents what they believe because they fear the worst. And I think it would behoove all of us as atheists, whether you have kids or not, that if that opportunity ever comes up where someone tells you, especially your kid tells you, I'm religious, we would step back and say, okay, what would happen if the roles were reversed? And I would say, okay, well, let's just talk about why that is. And if ultimately that's what you decide, I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to respect you. I may disagree with you, but hopefully we could still have a conversation about that. My name is Hemant Mehta, and I write at friendlyatheist.com. Please leave a message in the comments, and we'll be sure to check it out.